All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Prospect Podcast. Coach D's here. Coach Schumann is indisposed at the moment, but we have a great guest today, Coach John Tierney of Pinelands High School here in Jersey. Short conference guy, wears a ton of hats where he's at, and I will let him dive into that as we go along. Episode number 211, Coach. So we've been at this for a hot minute. And I appreciate you taking the time. We know right now camp's starting here in Jersey. It gets hectic. It gets wild. So I really appreciate you taking the time. Coach Tierney, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm very excited, to be honest. I know we've talked about it a bunch of times, but I'm finally here. We finally got it going. So let's roll and let's give the people what they want.
Absolutely. I love it. Coach, thanks a lot. Coach, give me your background, kind of how you got where you are, where you're from, what the upbringing, what kind of, got you into coaching. Kind of give your bio to the people so that they know a little bit who you are.
All right. So I went to Modern Day High School up Middletown. It's no longer there, but I went there back in the day when we had 19, 20 kids on the football team. I followed in my sister's footsteps there, who was an excellent athlete, and she won a state championship in basketball. She was first team All-State in soccer and basketball. So my parents loved the small school community as well as they always had very good competitive teams, but it was not for an athletic advantage. It was because it was a small community. Middletown has some great schools up there, but they were afraid that I might get lost in the big school, of a graduating class of 600 or 700 kids. My class was 98, so I could achieved as much as I wanted to in a smaller setting. And I had a great football coach and a great basketball coach who led me down a really good path. And I was more of a basketball player than I was a football player growing up. I always loved the game of football, but I was a better basketball player up until about my junior, senior year of high school, when the size started to come into play. And it was hard to be a 300-pound point guard run up and down the court for Coach Glass. And he reminded me that constantly. But Coach Scardo got me some really good connections with some really good schools. And, I chose Towson University, which was the best choice I could have made. I played for Gordy Combs, a legend. Played for Coach Rob Ambrose, who was my offensive coordinator. And I had the choice to make because there was some bigger schools involved. It was funny. I was watching the SEC thing, and I was recruited by Vanderbilt. I was recruited by Mississippi State, Virginia Tech, Syracuse, Boston College. And when I put everything together, it was like, I didn't want to go be a tackling dummy for over 1,000 days, because that's what they basically said to you before the NILs and before the transfer portal. You're going to come in, you're going to redshirt. You're probably not going to have an opportunity as a freshman, a redshirt freshman, maybe as a sophomore. And I was always a math guy, and that was 1,000 days of being a tackling dummy. Towson told me I would have a chance to go play Division I football and compete for a starting job right away. And lucky enough for me, I worked hard and, put my head down, and I only didn't start one game ever. Unfortunately, it was against Monmouth, which I always let my coach know about. But I started 43 out of 44 games. So then I started getting into, believe it or not, again, basketball. I coached with Bobby Klatt at Modern Day. I would volunteer my time when I came home for break and started loving coaching. Coach Ricardo called me up and was like, hey, I know it's an hour and a half away, but do you want to come down and coach at Pinelands? So I was like, sure, I have nothing going on. And I started coaching football and fell in love with that. And, here we are 25 years later, 85 season later, head coach in 3 different sports and 4 different sports. It is my passion. I mean, I was able to be around some great people in coaching, including the legendary himself, Taj Holden, who won a national championship at Maryland. Had really great relationship with Corey Davis when we coached together at Lacey. And, some great guys at Pinelands and, Joe Adelizi, all those guys down there, my athletic director, Will Sunderman, and they put me in a great position to be able to do all this and to be able to coach so many future student athletes. And I am a firm believer that all sports, but especially football, always teaches life lessons. And no matter what, whether you're a first-year player or a 25th year coach, you're going to learn life lessons along the way.
Coach, 100%. I think that's something really a lot of guys, in my experience, right? When you get into coaching, it's one way or another. You either just did it and you kind of jumped into it because it's really kind of like you just knew that like when your playing career was over, hey, I'm just going to stay in football, or I'm just going to do it for a small amount of time. And then all of a sudden you fall in love with it and you see the development. You watch younger guys come in as, stumbling, bumbling freshmen who really don't understand anything about it. And then you watch them leave 4 years later as a mature, human, productive person within society with a plan going forward, which doesn't have to be football, right? But you just see that maturation process. And I think that is something that coaches don't expect to, but ultimately fall in love with, right?
Watching the kids' growth is amazing. And I mean, let's in a selfish way too. Anybody who has played any sport, doesn't matter what sport it is, you're a competitor. Somebody was asking me the other day, I don't know how I would get my competition out of me if I didn't coach this sports. Like right. This is my passion. Like, winning, obviously winning is important, but that's the competitive aspect of it is just like, preparing for the next game, preparing for the next practice. That's what it's all about.
Right, 100%. Like, I mean, look, my wife and I compete with, you know what I'm saying? Like, who can brush her teeth faster or whatever it is, right? Right. Yeah. That's not, because believe me, mom that was a dental hygienist, tooth care is beyond. So we do not rush brushing teeth in this house. That's for sure. But side note, Coach, talk about how, you're a lot of hats at Pinelands, right? Give the rundown of just kind of how you structure that and how you make it work. Because, I mean, you're the guy, right, in terms of head coach or in charge of a lot of things at a bigger school, right? I mean, like Pinelands is what it is. It's its own entity, right? But explain kind of how you do that and make that function at such a high level, and all the while keeping the standards where you have the standards.
I mean, first and foremost, it starts off at home, and I have an unbelievably supportive wife who she was a college athlete. She gets it. She understands what I'm trying to do, and she is as supportive as she can possibly be at all things in every which way. And she just gives me that ability to say, hey, you want to go do this? Go do this, and bounce ideas off her. And sometimes she just listens, and sometimes she'll come back. She'll be like, do you want a response? Yeah, I want a response. And she'll give me her opinion. And I think
it's so funny, Coach. It's so not to interrupt you, but it's so funny you said that, because I heard something the other day about, I can't remember where it came from. It was probably from a podcast, because I'm one of those guys that listens to all kinds of shit, right? But it was literally talking about that actual like experience, right? Like when the wife comes home from work and she just needs to puke it out, right? It's, do you want me to sit here and listen? Or do you want me to give you a response or an answer or a solution, right? And it's kind of just that jockeying of, do you want me to give you like an answer or a solution where you might not want to hear that, right? Or do you just need to let it all out? Do you need me to be that, hey, it's going to be okay, right? Like, to differentiate from that. I love that you just brought it up. It's so funny. I think I'm going to get a shirt for my wife that says that. Do you want an answer, or do you want me to just take it all in?
It's funny you say that, because we have two kids who also play. One plays in college right now, and one just got done playing at Central. So she really has not been able to come to too many football games. She's probably been to 5 Pinelands football games in the last 3 years. Now she's following on her phone. She knows what's going on. She sees the work that we're putting in.
She's plugged in.
Of the 5 games she went to, the first thing she said to me when I walked off the field was, "Why didn't you kick the field goal?" So she,
of course, brother.
I mean, our son is a kicker, but she's like, "Why didn't you kick that field goal?" I was like, "Well, it was a 75-yarder, hun." So I don't think we had the leg at that point.
Look, just because this guy hit a 70-yarder this weekend doesn't mean that that's the freaking norm now. Now everybody's going to be trying 70-yard field goals. But it is what it is.
It's good that she can come up and say that, but that's number one. Like, whenever I'm coaching, whether it's basketball, girls football, boys football, I'm doing my pool. It's that support from home. And then secondly, and really, one of the two most important things outside my wife is I have an amazing administration and sports staff behind me. Coach Sunderman is just the best AD around. I love Coach Sunderman. He always talking things out. And again, he has that type of relationship. Like, do you want an answer, or are you just venting? So we have that type of relationship. He has a phenomenal secretary that gets everything done, Miss Wyatt, Marie Wyatt. She's top of the line. She's another athletic director. We have an excellent
Probably
trainer.
the most underrated person within a football organization is the administrative assistant, secretary, whatever you want to call it, for the athletic director. That lady puts, or male, whatever it is, they are so pivotal in
It's
any
ginormous.
process whatsoever. I had a phenomenal one. I was at Mount Olive. I mean, she would tell you like Derek, I don't need that shit right now. Like, I'll talk to you. You know what I mean? Like, they are, it's just so pivotal. And we're actually going through a transition where we're at right now with someone that had been there for a really long time into this new, a new person. Man, this new one taking over. I don't know if she knew what she got into, but she has handled it unbelievably. Like, those are one of the first people that get a t-shirt of the new gear each year, right?
They're
like, those are the people you got to take care of. 100%.
The trainers, they're the frontline people. They're the ones answering the phone calls, making sure you know what's going on. She texted me the other day, like, hey, your knee pads came in. The next day, she's like, bring your truck up because there's 600 things here for you. So the constant communication is awesome. Again, like I said, our trainer, Coach Childs does a great job keeping our kids healthy, keeping our kids active and what they're supposed to be doing.
Second most important person.
But I will say this much: one of the most underrated positions is the head of both my booster clubs. So our booster
absolutely
club, the football team and the girls flag football team, the job they do and how they keep me in line and how they keep the program in line. And I say it at all of our banquets. If it wasn't for these people, none of this would happen. Because I'm a football coach. I am a coach. I am not a banquet planner.
Right.
And our banquets are second to none. Our banquets are like college banquets. They're freaking unbelievable. But it's those people who allow you to do so many different things because you're not worried about anything except the development of the student athlete, the game, the coaching. They have everything else taken care of. They may say, hey, coach, make sure the uniforms are out because we have pictures tomorrow. Okay, no problem. We did a media day yesterday. It was second to none. Our parents set it up. They had lightsabers and they had all this stuff out, all the gizmos the kids like. I call it the rip or the grip. I think they use a different word for it. But, that's what keeps the kids interested. That is stuff like that is why the kids come and they work so hard is because they want to have fun also. And, again, not many kids, it's weird because not many kids when they do their senior day form talks about like, I remember running power. I remember running counter.
Hell no. Has nothing to do with football.
I remember our media day. That's what they remember and that's what they take with them.
Right. I think, look, I've been around a lot of programs, right? Private school, public school, big school, smaller school, suburban, urban, right? It doesn't matter where you're at, what type of school, what type of organization. If it doesn't come from the top and they don't understand what you're trying to get done and how there are so many moving parts. And this is where I think parents, no fault of theirs because they just don't know how it all works, right? All they see is plays and they don't understand the amount of people just to get guys on a bus to a game in the right uniform to play and dial it up. They don't know what all of that what has gone into that from where we are now, right? Like the start of camp through all of that. Okay. And it takes a village, right? It's a cliche saying, but it really does because, trainers, booster clubs, right? Even all the way down to the maintenance guys that are taking care of your field. Right? That stuff is so pivotal to the success of a program. And for me, I think some of the best coaches are the guys that make the kids aware of that, right? Like, we had a lady that a female custodian who would clean the weight room every night, right? Yeah. And it came to a point where the kids literally said, like, coach, this is so clean every night. Like, they were aware of it. And it was like, hey, that is so-and-so, right? And now they go and, hey, thank you for doing that. Even though it's your job, right? Like, you're taking ownership of it, just like we want our kids to do. So to me, wins and losses, yes, but to me, that's a huge win just in that we're making the kids aware of that. And now they're growing, maturing to respect everybody has a job. And if everybody does that job, it helps us move forward. And that's what I think football does, right? Like, and you can see it within your program too. I'm sure everybody has little things like that within it that can help our kids grow and mature and become good humans. Because that's what it's all about.
and taking appreciation in things like, for example, our field is always lined perfectly. Our maintenance guy, Bob, does a phenomenal job on the field. It never gets too long. It's always short enough. Things like that. We're building a sandcastle right now with our family program. And I text and say, hey, can we they need a ladder. That ladder's out there within 5 minutes. Everybody in the school district has the same vision and the same goals. And again, It's not always wins and losses. I've had a very tough time because we've been 5-5 the last 2 years, and it's like, all right, we're even right now. Like we're 11-11 in our last 22 games, but they see the growth of the program. And for me, sometimes it's hard because we're only 5-5, but they see the program going in the right direction. So it takes everybody to be able to do that.
I agree 100%. And for you as a program builder, right? Let's talk about that a little bit. You took over a program that traditionally wasn't looked at as something, right? Like when you're talking short conference, Pinelands always gets mentioned in, it is what it is, a lower, kind of a lower viewpoint of the conference overall. So talk about that a little bit. How have you, or what have you done, or things that you've implemented to kind of try and get that out of people's heads of what Pinelands football is and where they're going?
I just think that the first thing is you have, and kids love discipline. Kids want discipline. I think nowadays a lot of people are afraid to discipline kids because they're going to transfer. They're going to do that. No, kids want that discipline as long as that discipline comes from the heart. So when you're yelling, if you're yelling from the heart and the kid knows that you have the best interest in his mind, he wants that discipline. So the first thing we did was say, you're going to be on time to school. You're going to be on time. If you're not on time, we're sending you home. It's about being consistent. And one of the things that's consistent is just being on time, knowing your accountability to be in class, to be where you're supposed to be. You're not cutting class. So basically, we told the kids from the start, it was, if you're not in school, you're not playing. You're not practicing that day. If you don't practice that day, you don't play on Friday nights. Everybody wants to win on Friday nights. Nobody.
Oh, everybody! Listen, you ever watch? If people should get to games early, right? And I'll give you a list of guys as to who did what all week during practice. And when the guys that are on this list get to warm-ups on Friday night, you're like, where is this guy?
Yeah, they're ripped out. They got the black.
They got all the swag, right? Towel here, this glove here, this cleat. They got the gear every week, but you're like, buddy, where were you on Wednesday? Where were you on Tuesday? Like
team dinners. Team dinners bring a lot of people out. Team dinners and Friday nights. One of the things I still can't get over with these guys is they all do it. And I mean, Jaden Hatzevich, who's one of the best players I ever coached, he did it. They all wear these dark visors in pregame, and they go in like 5 minutes before the game, and I'm like, what do you do? But that's
why?
Why? Listen, that was me sitting in the corner, banging my head off the locker, listening to Metallica or listening to. That's what they do.
Here we go, 100%. That, and look, I get it. Like, I think another thing too is like at the end of it, we kind of, because we get so wrapped up in what we're doing and this and that, we forget that like these guys are still kids. They're still 16 years old. Like this is fun. Like this is supposed to be fun for them.
100%.
And for majority of them, this is a sport they'll never play again after high school. Right?
Yes,
it's not like we go and play in
football leagues.
Right. We don't go play and pick up basketball. We don't go play beer softball on Sundays. You know what I'm saying? Like football is what it is. And that's what makes this game so great. It's why, you come to one of my home games and there's still 50 guys on a fence with a 1970 varsity jacket or whatever, still reliving, the 5 tackles they made that have now become 55 tackles because the story grows every year.
Well, once you get to that varsity triple.
It is, and what's great is like that's part of it, and we get so like wrapped up and tight, almost tight as coaches because we want everything to be perfect, and we need this to do that, and like it's just at the end of it, sometimes you really got to sit back. And my wife is a great one for this, and just said, Derek, there's kids, you know what I mean? Like there's still like, and she's always remember what you did sophomore year, remember what you were doing as a junior, right? Like yes, and it's hard, but she can bring me down to get on that level again, and you kind of check it and go from there, which is great. So coach, like, your team, your is kind of made up in a certain way, right? Like it is, like you say, Pinelands football, right? Let people know kind of when Pinelands football is made, how do you want it to be viewed, right? Or what do you want guys to take away from who they are or what you're trying to instill, that Pinelands football is this?
What I think Pinelands football is, and obviously, we have the family program there, and Joe and Trona does a great job with the family program. And that's part of it. It's that these guys, your family, they have your back no matter what. If a team comes and plays us, I want them to know they played a football game. Not dirty, but, we're going to hit to the whistle. We're going to block to the whistle. We're going to execute things. You're not going to get out there and be like, did that coach practice all week? What were they thinking?
Right. It's organization.
It's going to be organized. It's going to look well. We're not going to make mistakes. We're not going to make pre-snap mistakes. We're not going to make post-snap mistakes. If things happen within the coach, you get a holding call, it happens. You're fighting. You're doing that. But we're not going to get a taunting penalty. We're not going to get those type of penalties where it looks like the program is not disciplined. And again, go back to that word. If you leave Pinelands football, there's going to be a time in your life that I hope there isn't, but there might be, where you reach back and say, all right, my life is real hard right now. What can I do? What can I do? What did I learn in my time of playing football that can get me through this? And we talked about it yesterday. Like, there's some times in life, you just got to put your head down and say, go. Don't worry about that. You got to be like that. Sound like the headshot guy when we get all blurry, and you just go and you get to the other side no matter what. And, I had a great teacher that my father always taught us that sometimes you just got to put your head down and go.
And right. And it's, I usually say it too, right? Like in a leadership position, like you are, right? In my eyes, looking at it, you're a hands-on coach, right? Like, you're involved in everything. You're not the sit back type of, like, let it go or whatever, kind of, you allow guys to coach and do your work, but you're still going to be in there and you're still going to be with it. So to me, like, I always say that, like, the greatest leaders in my eyes, or business owners, CEOs, whatever it is, are those guys that are still willing to go and pick up a shovel. Right. Like, I usually use that. Like, you see these, they're not just the guy that roll up, sitting in the truck on the phone with the next client, just riding by. No, dude, like, I park my truck, I get out of there. And if I need to hop on a mower to get the lawn done, like, I'm still going to do that. Or I'm the guy that's cleaning the equipment when it's done. Right. Like, I personally pride myself on that aspect of it. No job is too big or too small. The way I was raised, blue collar, group 1 school, parents always like, look, you're going to get the job done. And at the end of the day, like, your hard work will kind of push you to the next level through whatever it takes. So maybe it's a little bit of that, but, I can remember being a freshman walking on at Sacred Heart and just being willing to do whatever they needed, and little stupid shit, right? Like, people would look at us like little stupid shit, like pushing in the chairs after a meeting, or somebody left a water bottle cleaning off the table. I remember, I'll never forget it. It's actually kind of funny because at Sacred Heart, Neil Brown, who just got fired from West Virginia, he's now an analyst at Texas, was my receivers coach. And I can remember doing, like, had a special teams meeting or something, and like I said, a guy left, like, the chairs were out, and I just pushed chairs in. Or there was, like, a Dorito bag on the table. I picked it off. And I remember him specifically saying to me, yo, that's why you're going to be successful in life. Yeah. And it was so, like, I didn't even realize like what I was doing was just natural to me. It was just, it's not like I went out of my way to be the kiss ass to get on the field. It was just who I was. And huge pivot, turning point for me personally, to have him say that, to now know, like, at the end of the day, I'm always going to be okay because this is my mentality.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I'm the guy that, like, if there's an extra cart in the parking lot, like, I'll go grab that cart and put it in the damn cart thing. Right. Like, you can define a lot about who a person is based on little shit like that.
I've never met a successful person who didn't put their grocery cart back.
100%. Right. Like, that's just what it is. That's what's so great, I think, about since I came down here like 5 years ago or wherever it is and got into the Shore Conference. Now I went to Montclair State and that's where I finished. And there was a lot of Shore Conference guys in there and they talked about, hey, I was all Shore, or hey, I played in the all Shore game. I just think, and then, it was kind of just like, it was Fugazi, whatever. It was like, okay, yeah, Shore Conference, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Then I came down here and got involved in it as a coach. And as an outsider coming in, the tightness, maybe, like, I don't know if I'm saying that right. You know what I mean? Like the coaches were so tight knit, not in a negative way, but just in such a powerful support each other, but still we're going to compete when it's time to compete.
And I think, and I'm in a group chat with some of the best coaches in the Shore Conference. I mean, they're just great guys. And that's the thing about the Shores. We want each other to do well. Here's the thing about coaching. We all have the same issues. We're not down in Texas.
Yes.
We're not making $150,000 a year, right?
Nope.
Coaching is like our fourth job. So you got to get your lesson plans and deal with parents in the classroom. You're dealing with parents. So we're all going through the same thing. It's just that, like, the group of guys I'm tight with, like, we're all pulling for each other. We want each other to do the best. We're all for each other. We're not going to try and hurt each other in any way.
Right.
We're not going to try and steal somebody away. And if, like, God forbid that happened, like somebody's come, like, a coach is leaving, like somebody comes to me and says, hey, I want to coach for you. I moved down here. First thing I'm going to do is call, out of respect, call that head coach.
Right. 100%.
And I think it's a major respect thing because we all understand what's going through. And again, at the end of the day, like, am I going to step over somebody to get a player? No, like, I'm not going to do that. And that's the way it is these days. Like, sometimes with some people, and I'm very lucky that the people I'm surrounded with in coaching, they don't do that. They want the best for Pinelands unless they're playing me that night.
Right. And I think, unfortunately for that, trickle-down effect from what we're seeing in college football now with the transfer portal and the NIL. It's kind of, in a way, it's turning into a me game, not a team game, right? It's more to a lot of people, there's two ways I put it. It's, guys now are playing more so for the name across the back than the one on the front, right? Or guys are, it's, they love what football can do for them, not I love football. You know what I mean? Like, that passion, I think, that team camaraderie, that tight-knit look, anybody who's never been in a football locker room, you just won't understand what that is. There are no racial issues, religious issues. There is absolutely nothing. Right? There is absolutely nothing.
We said this yesterday at the end of practice. Listen, our country right now, and I don't want to get into anything, it's very split. It's very split, unfortunately. But when you step into that football locker, you don't see race, you don't see religion, you don't see who you're voting for. You don't see, what you see is green and gold. What you see is we have to come together to beat somebody else on Friday night. That's what you see. And that's what you see, like, in the Shore Conference Coaching Association, that's what you see. We're all together. We're doing this because we love the game. We want to improve the kids. We want to, make the future of America bright. And coaching football is one way you can do that. And if you do it the right way, it's a great thing. You're going to make a lot of friends.
Right. And I think the other thing too is the network, and really, I got involved even more so. I've taken over all membership duties for the New Jersey Football Coaches Association, right? Rick Mance, after like 30 years, has given it up. And fortunately for me, Coach Jacobs and Coach Tariq Holman, who kind of they run the whole thing, have, invested in me to kind of take over and do that. And I'm so thankful for it. It's another one of those unpaid positions that's like really cool, but there's nothing coming in for it other than some intrinsic love to just, want to help in any way, shape, or form that I can get my hands on doing stuff like that. Because I think now one of the issues too is a lot of coaches, I think guys need to really look. We all love like being in a spotlight, right? And competing and doing all those things, but our time is past, man. It is no longer about us. It is about, and a lot of guys say it, but they don't live it, it's about the players and developing those guys, to mature and just get better in any phase of more so than just, hey man, can you score touchdowns? Can you make tackles? Like, that's all fine and dandy and great. And that's ultimately, yes, we are coaching a sport that stuff matters. But at the end of it, it's about coaching good people and teaching these young men to be good fathers, good husbands, good employees, good citizens. That's the stuff I think that draws me. And it's probably because look, I'm one of these fortunate guys that, I had really, really good coaches from Kiwi football, youth football, all the way up through high school. And I'm talking good coaches in terms of more than X's and O's, taught me a lot more about life than football, but taught me really good football at the same time. So to see them do that at that standard only makes me want to, continue to spread that. And God rest his soul. Unfortunately, we lost a great guy, a couple weeks ago in Jerry Gallagher, who was nothing other than like the football for New Jersey,
Yes.
Coach, mentor, always a phone call or text message away, anything. Hey, Derek, how can I help you? And that's coming from a guy who I competed against for 3 years of high school. And when he was at Montville High School, they were our rival at Butler. And that was a guy who just gained my respect because there was never a game that we played where he didn't come to me individually and say, hey, buddy, hell of a game. We prepared for you. And that was the biggest compliment to me personally as a player, when another coach came to you after the game and was like, hey man, like we spotlighted number 2 this week, and you've given us fits every single year. Not, to me, that was the biggest compliment. And then to transition now into the coaching role and have those guys not look at you as a player anymore, but look at you as a colleague, a friend, where Coach Gallagher would ask me about, hey, what are you doing with this? Meanwhile, I'm sitting here going, dude, you know more football than I'll ever whatever, but still make you feel a part of it, part of that coaching work. And ultimately, to circle back to where we started, that's what I've noticed. The Shore Conference is about that. Guys want each other to do well. They want their kids to be at a higher level, or just in general. Now, look, when we're going against each other, like, we're competing, bro. We're getting after it. And for those, however long the game is, like, it's what it is. Like, we're going to compete and get after it. But at the same time, I want you to do well, right? Like, I'm rooting for you in the playoffs when you're playing somebody outside of the conference. I'm going to pull for you. I saw that a lot more too in having the honor, I guess, of coaching in the All Shore game this year. Coach, talk about that a little bit too.
Well, I just want to hit on
Shore game.
I just want to hit
go
on
ahead. Go ahead.
2 points you just said. One has to do with the All Shore game, and we were going out to lunch, and as I'm walking into where we're going, there's Coach Generelli, the general, one of the best coaches in the history of high school football in the Shore Conference, and myself and Coach Generelli I never competed against him. I never played against him as a player. As a coach, I did a couple times. But he had about an hour and a half conversation with me one day at a football camp. And that conversation just it helped me direct where I wanted to go through the game of football. Everything that everybody's always told you, but maybe because it was coming from him and the way he delivers it. And then here he is. He comes up from Wilmington, North Carolina, to help coach in the All Shore game, on the mama side. Like, that shows you the type of relationships that there are in the Shore Conference. Like, this man, he's retired. He's down there. It's the best time of year down in North Carolina. And he's coming up to Jersey in the hot, humid weather to coach a game of football. The other thing, too, you talk about, you're always rooting for the other guy. One of the guys I'm closest to in coaching is Steve Fence, who's at New Egypt. Not only do
amazing dude
relationship, but I'm coaching 2 of his kids. He could have easily pulled his kids out to New Egypt and said, I want them to play for me, but he's given me the right to coach his kids because he knows my program is run that way. The same way Coach
100%.
Pidge at Central, Coach Pidge at Central coached my 2 kids. I could have pulled them and said, no, you're coming with me to Pinelands. But Pidge does such a great job there that I'm fine with my kids playing for him. You go coach them. You teach them the lessons because Pidge does such a good job. And I think that's what Coach Fence said to me. This year, 2 years ago, I had to play against Pidge and my son. That was a real tough couple of weeks because Pidge was the guy I talked to. Me and Coach Fence, we got to play against each other this year coming up. that's going to be a tough week because not only do you want to beat him, but you also want to make sure your team looks good because his team's going to look good. And you got to make sure you guys can compete against each other and you're ready for everything he's thrown at us in the past. And it's a game that down deep you really want to win, but you really want both teams to look good and look the part.
Right. And I think that close-knit type of, like that fraternity, right? That brotherhood, like, look, guys that I call every week after a game, right? From that are still boys with me from North Jersey or guys that, down in South Florida. I mean, shit, like, like guys all over. How'd you do this week? What was this? They gave us fits with this. Oh, well, maybe you want to do this or try that. It's that back and forth type of camaraderie. It's why I love the off season so much, clinics and shit like that, like where you can go and talk to guys. Look, you may never use anything they give you, right?
Yeah.
But it's that conversation of, hey, you could reach out and social media. This is one of the benefits of it too, right? And doing this podcast has allowed me to network with so many guys on a national level and just talk ball in general about, the way certain things are in certain states but at the end of it, we all have that common denominator that is we're all dealing with the same shit with the same kids, right? Like, how do I keep them focused with the social media? How do I keep them? It's all the same shit. We bounce those ideas off and then you get to go and compete against those guys, right? Like this year for the last game of the season, like I'm going to play against my cousin who's the head coach at Manchester, right?
Yeah.
That's gonna be a tough week. Like, yeah, I want to beat his ass, but at the same time, I want him to be good, right?
Yeah.
So it's that type of juggling, and that's what I love. And I would hate to see that part of coaching leave and go away because guys are so concerned with, they got their own egos or they got this or they got that with who's blasting what out on social media or any of those kind of things. That's where I think that older generation kind of keeps us balanced. Keeps us like, hey, like at the end of it, it's still about this, right? And that's where I think that it's so beneficial to have those types of guys around, how to structure their staffs and things like that. Like you need some guys, assistant coach wise, that are gonna challenge you in a respectful way, but also, hey, coach, like, what about this? What about this? What about this? And then when the head coach says, no, that's not what we're doing, you don't take that personal, right? It's not a personal thing. It has nothing to do with who you are as a person. But that's my job as an assistant is to think of everything that a head coach may not have thought of. He's got 1,000 other things going on, but at the same time, stay in my lane and know, hey, this is where I don't say something. This is where I say something.
And, it's
been an assistant before. So
when I was an assistant in football and basketball, I was working for Taj Holden, who was great. And it was always hard.
The best.
I would go up like, Taj, I like this. And he'd be like, okay, do it. But I'm like, no, I like it. He's like, I said, do it. And like, it was
right.
Because in the football world, you have to justify like why I'm going to have a kid, for some coaches, why am I going to have a kid tie his shoe a little bit tighter and you have to come up with 65 reasons why, and it always took me three or four days to mentally prepare myself for Taj to be like, okay, do it. I trust you. Like, and not that coaches didn't trust you, but they just want to know every answer and what's the positive, what's the negatives. And that's hard.
How are you going to teach it? How are you going to match it up with this? How are you going to evaluate it? Right. Like, and I think as a special teams coordinator, that's one of the hardest things is the evaluation process for why guys are what they are. Right. Like, hey, he's got to be the right guard on punt. Well, why? And how did you evaluate it? And I think that's really hard. To me, it's easy with offense and defense, right? Like you line it up and you go. Special teams, right? Different because sometimes you're not getting that true live look like you would with offense and defense. So you need to create, right? Never. I mean, it's why you hold your breath every opening kickoff, regardless of the game, because you just don't freaking know, right? And you're dealing with high school kids. So, you're telling him to kick it here and he kicks it to the exact person he's not supposed to. That's just how it is and how it goes. But I think that's also what I love about it so much is the chess match basically with the other coach, but also, showing my head coach how we're going to do this and have that answer when he, why this, why that, why this, why that. And that's what I think separates a lot programs is that attention to detail on every aspect of it, where some guys just kind of, all right, it's Thursday, let's run the special teams guys out there and make sure they know what they're doing, and then we go, right? Like, no, it is, we do drills, right, for the positions. We get the look, we film it, we watch it, right? It matters. It's important, right? It's why the first meeting of a new season is a 15-minute special teams meeting, right? Like, hey, if the head coach is in here talking, like, and I'm the first meeting and specialist period is the first thing we do in practice, like, put it all together. Why? Right? Like, it matters, and show them that it matters and stuff like that.
Sorry, I keep
Coach, talk a little bit about
my
Coach, you're good, buddy.
You
are good.
a little bit.
Hey, Coach, you're good. We guys, driving to New England on this show. Like, it is what it is, right? Like, don't get a ticket, buddy. But let's circle back a little bit to, the All-Shore game. You have a huge role in it. You're the GM for, Ocean County. Talk about that a little bit. How the hell did you get into doing that? And kind of, I think a lot of people don't understand what that entails. You firsthand this year, deal with it for what it is. But how did you get into that, and kind of talk a little bit about that GM role that you have for it?
Yeah, so about 3 years ago, Coach Dom from Manalapan reached out to me, and he gave me a pep talk. And
Coach Lepore is a great guy. We've had him on, Coach. We've had him on.
This guy must be really good at pep talking, because he was like, Coach, I think you're the guy. You're going to be great. Needless to say, I found out I was the 7th phone call he made and said the same spiel to, and I was the only guy who took the bait.
It's all good. It's all good.
I took the hook, and the thing that really sold me was he said I was going to work really closely with Coach Glesman who at that time was at Keyport, and now he's at North. And Glez is actually a guy that I coached. So talk about life coming full circle. Now we're working together. We're working together real tight. Amazing. And our first year, there was a lot of hiccups because we were both first-year guys. We were both first-year GM. So there was this wrong, that wrong. I think as both of us being learners, as the time went on, we both learned what worked, what didn't work. This year, we put in a hard date on the physical, and you better have a reason that you don't have your physical at this point. You better communicate with me, or I'm going to take you out of the game. And again, that game is a privilege to play in. I was lucky enough to play in it in 1997.
100%. And Coach, that's what separates that game from all-star games. Look, I literally have a sheet on this side of my thing where there are certain states, Ohio, Alabama, Pennsylvania, Louisiana, there's no all-star games. Like, you can't do it. They don't do it. And meanwhile, here we are, the Shore Conference All-Star Game, the Gridiron Classic, I think, or 48 years, right? This was the 48th year.
Longest running game in New Jersey.
Right. And look, I played in the Robeson Classic up north, which is, Morris County versus Essex County, Passaic County, whatever that. They used to have the Snapple, right, which was, I believe, like Middlesex or something. Look, they still have the North-South game, and they do a great job with that. I played in the North-South game. I love it. They do a really great job with it. It's playing that as well, but the all-shore game is a little different, and it is 100% now seeing it firsthand and being in it, right? I mean, it is an honor and a privilege, and what goes into that week long of practices ultimately to the lead up to the game, it's so awesome. I just love every facet of how it's worked and structured. I know the head coaches pick their staffs and do all that, but to work with some of these guys in the Shore, kind of just what we were saying before of how, you're around great coaches with great, minds and all that stuff. Like, it was so awesome to talk football for those 2.5 hours that we were there. Those guys practice, coaching the really good kids is a sidebar to what I got out of that whole thing. You know what I mean?
We start with that game in January. That game is started up in January, and we start meeting in January. We'll probably, meet 2 or 3 times before March, and once March hit, it's go time, and we have Zoom calls, phone calls, and I mean, my text message at some point is just 95% of them are about that game. I was joking around with Dr. Tierney after my game, like, he's texting me, it's 11 o'clock at night before the first practice, and we're texting back and forth about clear roster and this guy and that guy, and we were joking, saying, all right, now my wife's not gonna have to wonder who's texting me at 11 o'clock at night. It was Jake from State Farm.
100%, brother. Absolutely. That's it.
And it's just when the game's over, it's a huge just relief And you don't have to, you can fully worry about your. I mean, you're always worried about your own team. Let's face it, we're football coaches.
Right. But that's kind of that focus of like early July, right? Like this is what it is. And then when that's over, it's like, all right, now I got 3 weeks, to prepare. And it is Pinelands football, and that's what we're doing, right? It is our summer implementation. Like, here we go. But after that, to me, the fact that guys take those couple days, quote unquote, away from their team to do that just tells you kind of how much it matters. And we were talking before we got on the air, 7,000 people at the game. Like, all right, call it 6,500, whatever you want to do. I don't give a shit. Over 6,000 people at that game. My father-in-law, my wife, my mom. Yeah, in the summer, right? Who's on vacation? No. These guys, and some of them are, hey, coach, like, I'm leaving next week for camp, Like, this is the last thing that I'm doing. This is the last bit of high school football I'm going to get to, be a part of. And for them to get some of the amenities or whatever it is that goes into that game, more about, hey, and for me as an assistant coach, right? Like, hey, we got a guy in that game. Like, that's really, really cool. And that shit matters. And it's awesome. I just love it. Even for the players to be around other high level players. It's like it's a pseudo OTA for them college ball. Like, hey buddy, in a week when
it's such a good thing. I also played in the All-State game, and
right.
The All-State game, you're like, all right, this is where I have to get to. But now the All-Shore game is like, all right, how far have I come before I'm leaving for college? I mean, unfortunately now a lot of guys leave so early for college because it's guys are leaving.
Oh yeah.
But back then it was like, all right, this is where I have to get to, and then wherever I come, okay, rest up, and now 2 weeks away, I'm in camp. So it's just a great summertime thing, but it's not a summertime thing for the guys who are in charge of it because it is a 9-month of the year thing. But
100%. And look, and for people, there's no compensation for this. Like, we do this shit like out of the joy, like because we just love this, right? And back to having that home life where wifey can say, hey, you go do this and not have any, issues. So, for some of the young
Coach Dom's name is Dom Do Not Answer. So when he calls, I do not answer him from now on because I know that was a line of BS that he fed me about what
he sold you a dream.
He sold us.
Shit, he should be in sales. Listen, that's that Staten Island coming out of him, or that's that, you know what I mean? That's that New York coming out of him. And look, Coach Dom's been on before. He's a great dude. And look, there's a lot to it. And like you said, the GM from the Monmouth side, unbelievable dude. I met him through doing, pro camps with freaking Saquon Barkley or some shit when he was at Plainfield. We just ran because we were coaching friggin' young little fan kids at a pro camp, and that's how we linked up and we know each other. And now get to compete against him directly and you directly with the girls' flag. Coach, last thing before I let you go, and I appreciate your time. I know you got a heart out because we for a short conference, but talk a little bit about the evolution and the growth of girls' flag football at the high school level. Nationally, it's growing crazy. We can see it all over the place. Shit, it was on ESPN over 4th of July weekend. But talk about how this short conference itself and some of the schools down here, and also how you have done with the girls' flag football stuff.
So every time somebody asks me about the start of the flag, I have to give this story. So if you heard it, I'm sorry. It'll be about 2 or 3 minutes long. But it was the first day of practice. It was February. It was probably about 25, 30 degrees out. We're coming out of COVID. It is cold out. We have no lines on the field. I'm trying to set the girls up to run a hitch route. And some are going 20 yards, and some are going 7 yards, and some are going 1 yard. I'm like, all right, I can't do this. We're just going to go to defense. So we go to defense, and I start teaching the 4-3 defense, even though there's not D lineman, but there's 4-3. And, we got the Sam, we got the Mike, we got the Will. And the one girl goes, her name is Molly, and she's playing Sam for me. And she goes, but my name's not Sam. I go, no, you're the Sam linebacker. She goes, no, but my name's Molly. I go, I understand your name is Molly, but you're playing Sam. And the strong safety at the time goes, no, coach, I'm Sam. Her name was Sam. I said, all right, bring it in. I came home. I poured myself the biggest glass of bourbon I've ever poured before in my life. And again, here's where life comes in at home. And as I had my third swig of it, My wife's like, how'd it go? I said, I'm never going back. I can't. I'm done.
How do you think it went? Look at that.
And she said, no, you have to.
There's no ice in here either. There's no ice in here.
I said, no, I'm not. I'm not doing this. I don't know what I was singing, but I'm not doing it. But you talk about a sport where, and now the girls know what they're doing. It's you don't see as many of these, but that first year of flag football, you saw 26 girls at some point during the year get it. And you're like, all right, they get what I'm teaching. They understand what I'm teaching. And now it's just sort of like it's a cycle. We got girls. We got Jayla Klein, who's been All-State for 2 years. We got, unfortunately, Bree McCory's been hurt for 2 years, but she plays on the Staten Island Giants. We have talent out the wazoo at Pinelands. Luckily, we have girls that want to compete, girls that want to be taught. I had a girl who I called her my Swiss Army knife earlier in the year. She was a freshman. I really wasn't sure where to play her. And we were moving her all around. I could tell how frustrated she was. And then the one day we put her at safety, and I thought she was going to quit. And I'm like, just don't quit, come back. And then the next day she's calling out defenses. She's checking a red, she's checking a blue. And next thing you know, I think she was like second in the short conference in flagpoles. And
dude, she was unbelievable, dude.
And she's
like,
a freshman.
I couldn't just stop. It's so fast, dude. Like, oh my God.
I got her for 3 more years. I'm like, all right, I look like a really good coach because she's really good. So
part two, and to piggyback on what you said, like obviously we just started it, right? Like this is our first year. You're going into what, year 5, I believe. This will be 6.
I think year 6,
somewhere around there.
Year 6, I think.
Right. Like you were one of the originals, right? Like you're the OG. You guys are the OG. Yes.
We were one of the 7 originals, luckily.
Correct. And I mean, look, it has grown and growing on such a level, right? Like we got it here, which means the other side of town gets it, right? So it's actually really funny because when I interviewed, for the assistant boys job, right? It was when I sat down with the athletic director, hey, do you have anything for me? Hey, are we doing girls flag? Because if we are, I'd love to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't have to be the guy, right? Because it's difficult because I'm not in the school and all that other, but I want to be a person like on that list of you're an assistant coach for girls flag because I just wanted to do it. I didn't know what I was getting into. A lot of my guys do it right at DePaul or Mount Olive or some of those schools that I've been at. And Derek, you got to do it. You're gonna love it. Like coaching, and it's like, hey, we're coaching girls. It's different. You know what I mean? Derek, you got to do it. You got to do it. So I just jumped in.
Girls are so competitive. And
oh my God, like I never had to explain it more than once, or they're so literal that like it's like, hey, it doesn't have to be right at 5. It can, there's some leeway here, or I had such a great time doing it, irregardless of record. And look, I'm so proud of our girls because we got that, that extra game for not making the playoffs and won and ended up finishing the year like in the top 14, right? And I just watched them grow and evolve and get better every time we stepped on the field, whether it was practice or a game. To watch them grow and develop like that in such a short period was so rewarding and so just like it invigorated me when it came to coaching. And I owe it all to them, right? Like, I had a great guy with me, Chris Blackmer, great guy, he had a daughter on the team, right? Like, but it was like one of these things where it's like, hey, I got 50 girls that signed up, but I only have 25 uniforms. Like, holy shit. And I think it shocked my AD too. Not only that so many girls wanted to do it, but the level of talent that just kind of walked in the door, and it was like, oh shit, this girl can do this, or this girl can do that. And it's because they've been doing it, right? Like there's 7-on-7 clubs for them. There's flag clubs for them. They doing all this stuff in the off season where, in a couple years when it becomes a sanctioned high school sport, they're going to have to make some really hard decisions in terms of spring sports. Or am I still going to play softball? Am I still going to do lacrosse? Because they love this. And now with colleges coming around, having this as a part of like, hey, you can come to college and do it. Holy shit, man. Like it is rocket to the sky. Here we go.
I would feel awful if I didn't give credit to the three people who in the short conference who really started. Number one, obviously, Coach Antonucci from Middletown South. He's the one that got everybody on the board. And then, he went out, he talked to the New York Giants, and we have Ethan and Tara up there who are just two of the best people. And you want to talk about trying to grow better people through the game of football, that's talking about Ethan and Tara. They do an amazing job up there. It's just, I'm so thankful that the one day when I walked past Coach Sherman's office, he was like, hey, we're starting girls flag football. I was like, okay, cool. And it's number one. I think I've now coached like maybe 120 different girls. I have 120 now extra daughters because girls are so different than boys.
Oh man.
Boys run the other way. Boys don't want to in the hallway with the girls, like, hey coach, how you doing? I'm like, good. And then they keep talking to you, like, I want to go. They're like, no, we want to. I'm like, I want to go.
Like, wait, I gotta go. Like,
why are you talking?
And they're also, you kind of also look at it too. Like, at least for me, like you kind of go into it with this mentality of like, all right, they're girls, and you gotta. Hell no, they're like, coach, you need to like light me up and like tell me like they want to be coached, man. And it is so awesome that everybody wants to bag on these, like, this new generation kid that, like, oh, it's all about social media or it's all this or it's all that. Look, kids are still the same. They want structure. They want to be coached, right? They're still going to do shit because they're kids. It's our job to steer them in the right direction, that they stay in the lanes that they're supposed to. And if they are changing lanes, let's help them and guide them positive things, whether it's girls, boys, whatever sport we're coaching. That's where I think we can be most impactful. Don't just give it like, oh, they can't do this or they want to do this, or yes, because that's all they know. If you now teach them something different, like, hey, not everybody gets a trophy, right? Because I think that was a big eye opener, at least for our girl. Like, wait, what do you mean we didn't make the playoffs? It's like, no, we weren't good enough to get there. But if we do this, this, and this, we can get there in the future. And that's like something that, to me, is so rewarding to watch them want that and have a goal and start to set those things. And you just get to impact an entire different group. Like, I know I'm fortunate. Like, I just got another 15 babysitters. Like, let's go. Because some of the, like, I would leave my daughter with any of these girls, right? Because I know who they are and what they are. And to me, that's the most rewarding part of it. So Coach, any closing thoughts before we get out of here? Go ahead.
I got two quick things. Number one, you said to the difference between coaching boys and girls. And I said to Coach Adelizi, he'd love it. And you can see, like, he came on as my DC this year. And by practice 4 or 5, he absolutely loved it. But the difference was we're at our banquet, and I said I script everything because I'm a coach. And he said, oh, wow, we're going to be – it was 6:30. It was – banquet started at 6 o'clock, and I think at 7 o'clock I had ending comments. He goes, oh, we're going to be out here by 7 o'clock. I said, no, Coach, this is the difference between boys and girls, coaching boys and girls. We were done by 7 o'clock, but we took pictures with the girls until 8:50. It was every picture, every frame, faked it. And the girl, and it was like, that's what you do, though, because that's what they want. So I got a real quick thing. You just said about kids these days, right? I'm gonna give you a little quote here, and you're going to guess who said this. All right? The children of today now love luxury. They have bad manners, contempt for authorities. They show disrespect, and they love chatter in places where it's not supposed to be. Who said that?
I don't know. That's a great quote, though. I'll give you that. Holy shit.
Socrates. So since then, the adults have been they've been complaining about what children have been doing and how and their respect for authority. Just think about that, because I know we always want to blame this society, but it's been going on for, I don't know, 2,100 years, 2,200 years since Socrates said that line. So anyway, my closing thoughts is, number one, I was so happy to finally get on this podcast. I love talking football. Me and you have become very close throughout the last couple of years. I value our friendship. I value your mind as a football guy. But just, I'm excited for the 25 season. Just, like every season, I'm just excited for it. And guys like you who are putting the names out there, the football guys, it's just huge for the sport. Whether it's boys football, girls basketball, boys basketball, to come on here, and even if we have one person at home listening, I hope I gave them something that they like. But thank you so much for doing this. Obviously, if you ever need anything, you know where I am. I know where you are. And just keep being, just keep training people to be better humans.
Coach, I appreciate the time, man. Like you said, I think we've developed a really awesome friendship, and the network that's involved, because we see each other wear so many different hats, right? And that's I get to see as a football coach. Then I get to see a girls flag, right? And then GM role, right? So it's just awesome to be around such like people and guys that really don't just say it, they walk it, you know what I mean? They do it, right? And for you, kind of how you're continuing to build football, more so off the field than on the field, to me is always something that resonates, with great coaching and ultimately leading our youth to successful paths. Can't thank you enough. Enjoy Media Day.
Coach, thank you very much.
Good luck this season. If we can ever do anything for you, please reach out and we'll go from there. But I appreciate the time.
Same way, brother. Much love to you. Much love to the family.
Go get it. All right, man. Talk soon.
Coach.
All right, guys. Appreciate you. Podcast number 211. Back later this week with Coach Schumann, and everybody, hopefully you have a good week. Look, Coach Tierney's a great guy. He wears a lot of hats, does a lot of things for the youth, for his school, whether it's football, basketball, and we didn't even get into the basketball stuff because he's a phenomenal basketball coach as well, but just does things the right way, and like I said, there's a lot of those guys out there that are like-minded like us, that really look at the youth and kind of want to develop and help them move forward in life, but to have the ability to use this game of football, and look, it is a platform 100%. To me, I think the football season and how your football team does sets the tone for the entire school year, right? Because when I've been at programs and in schools where you had a successful football season, and that doesn't mean winning a state championship, right? But just anything like that, any success within a football season itself puts the entire school year just in a better limelight. Most people, they ask, like, they kind of judge, to me, most people judge a high school by if their football team is good or not. Call it what it is. Some may disagree, but for me, that's really kind of what it is. One of the first questions people ask is, oh, well, how's their football team? Regardless of knowing anything. They don't ask where the best students went to college. They don't ask SAT scores, right? Like, well, is their football team good? Right. And I couldn't agree more, right? Because it's how it goes. It is what it is. It's the biggest team in the school itself, usually by numbers, size of guys. Right? Like, every teacher knows who plays football and where they sit in the classroom. It's always the first email of, if somebody's out of line, like, it's probably a football guy, right? But this game itself is so amazing in how it teaches life, irregardless of what's going on outside, right? To me, when you come to football practice, it is a 2-hour, 3-hour window where you can get and block out whatever is going on in your life and just concentrate on something that's really, really hard. Okay. And it's supposed to be hard. That's what makes it great. And it teaches so many life lessons because there's only one football, right? And you may have 4 wide receivers, but you're only throwing one on every play. And there's 5 offensive linemen, and they have to do their job, right, in order for somebody else to be successful. There's just so many of those little life lessons within the game itself. And that's even before you actually get to the game, right? The practicing all week, you practice so much more than you play games in football. And then ultimately it's the shortest window. You put on a helmet and that's it for 4 years of high school football. And you don't play ever again. That's just what it is. Guys are always worried, are constantly talking about when I played football, our team this, or whatever it is. It matters to people. It's important. And ultimately, it's what makes it great. So, guys, I appreciate you, listening to the podcast. We always thank our viewers. Like, subscribe. You can find us on any platform. Coach Schumann's YouTube page, the Prospect Podcast. Get on there. You can look at some of our former episodes. We're constantly trying to evolve with the times. Like I said, this is episode 211. 211 episodes. And, we've had guests that range from, high school coaches to NFL coaches, pro coaches. We've had players on, we've had nutritionists, we've had strength and conditioning guys, we've had, social media guys. And look, it's football strong, but look, we've had baseball, we've had basketball. Anybody, please, if you would like to talk, I kind of want to get something going, where we have talked to at least a coach in every state across the country, which if I go down the list, we've probably hit a good 30. But it would be awesome to kind of get that. And I think that's going to be the next like little shift that we have here to forward thinking and look to get coaches from every state on the podcast so we can talk to them and kind of see how things work at their level moving forward. But guys, again, appreciate all of you listening, watching, whatever it is, or whenever you get the opportunity, go check us out on any platform that has podcasts on it. We are in it. If not, search us up, on YouTube or X or whatever. You can follow us. We're going to continue to put out this content. I love the platform to be able to speak to guys all over the country about this amazing sport and kind of what we can do for the youth and how we can kind of guide them in a positive direction, and go from there. But again, thank you so much, and we will see you later this week. Coach D out.